Today we discuss about Gothic, presented by Francisco Macarayo and James Aquino. The presentation outline the characteristic, history of philosophy, important people and their works, and various movements. First, what is Gothic? Gothic's fashion is marked by conspicuously dark, antiquated, and homogeneous features. It is stereotype, stereotype as airy, mysterious, complex, and exotic. A dark, sometimes morbid fashion and style of dress. Typical Gothic fashion includes colored black hair and black period style clothing. And the picture below is the example of Gothic. Characteristic and history of Gothic. Gothic architecture upon European style came about between the mid 12th century and the 16th century and is characterized mainly by masonry building style that uses cavernous spaces and walls broken by overlaid tracery. The Gothic style and architecture are rooted in French architecture, but you can also find it in Europe and other continents. Initially, the style of architecture from Europe was referred to as Opus Franciginum, French work, and was primarily used by religious bodies like the Roman Catholic Church, while the Gothic style can vary according to location, age, and type of building. It is often characterized by five key architectural elements. This is large stained glass windows, pointed arcs, ribbons, flying batteries, and ornate decoration. The first characteristic is large stained glass windows. While stained glass windows are found in many places of worship, they are particularly prevalent in Gothic cathedrals featuring meticulously cut-colored glass. These kaleidoscopic windows, which are typically either tall or arched lancet windows or round rose windows, are larger than those found in other types of church, churches. This allowed them to let in more dazzling light. Pointed arch. A primary feature of many religious structures, ample archways can be found in most Gothic churches and cathedrals, rather than the wide, rounded arch characteristic of Romanesque buildings. However, architects working in the Gothic style adapted the tall, thin pointed arch found in Islamic architecture. Rib vaults. In order to incorporate higher ceiling and taller windows into their designs, Gothic architects utilize a new method of structural support called a rib vaulting. Rib vaulting involves the use of intersecting buttress bolts and arcs placed parallel to one another in order to support a rounded roof.
Flying buttresses. On top of these advanced vaulting techniques, Gothic architects employed another unique method of structural support. Flying buttresses, these projecting stone structures reinforce the buildings by redistributing the weight of the heavy to a lower, more solid level. Flying buttresses ensured the cathedral's integrity so that architects did not need to sacrifice the thin walls and large windows distinctive of the Gothic style. So the meaning of this is that the flying buttresses are those lines that are parallel to each other, the diagonal ones. So the problem here is that the roof is so heavy that it may lead to further damage if, if let alone. So the flying buttresses are here to support those heavy roofs So, so that the weight of those roofs are redistributed to a more stronger foundation. So next please. Ornate decoration. A final feature found in Gothic architecture is the presence of ornate decorative elements. This includes embellished colonnades and colonnettes, sculptural moldings, statues of saints, and historical figures, pinnacles and spires and gargoyles, grotesque figures that double as waterspouts. So the design here is not a painting but rather a visual representations of their style embedded in the architecture itself. So for example, the saints in Roman Catholic Church and the gargoyles in some temples, and these are just not necessarily an important part of the architecture but an important part to make the Gothic style more realistic. Also known simply as Goth art, this movement emerged in northern France after the start of the Romanesque period of art in the early 12th century, spreading quickly throughout Western Europe and much of Central, Northern, and Southern Europe as well. Gothic art demonstrated the style's immediate popularity upon its arrival. The main art form to come from period of art of Gothic architecture, which developed alongside the progression of general Gothic artwork. So, the starting point of having a Gothic style is the Romanesque period. It is just the initiator of the emergence of the Gothic art. So, Romanesque period looks like more of a temple, then transformed into a Gothic style, which is more mysterious and dark in a visually appealing style. Next, please. Gothic artworks with the author. First example is Maestra di Santa Trinita, 1283 to 1291, by Cimabue. Italian medieval artist Cimabue painted the Maestra di Santa Trinita originally for the Santa Trinita Church in Florence, where it remained until it was excavated to be housed in the official Uffizi Gallery. Considered to be a Gothic painting with a noticeable element of the Renaissance. The Maestra di Santa Trinita represented the Madonna and the Child sitting on a golden throne, implied to be in heaven. So the meaning of the painting here is simply the Christian theology, which is Mary, the Mother of God, holding the baby Jesus in heaven, sitting on a golden throne. So next, please. Next, please. The Rochelia Madonna, 1285 by Lucio. The Rochelae Madonna exists as the oldest and most well-known work painted by the Gothic artist Lucio. It was originally commissioned for the Church of Santa Maria Novella in Florence by the community that regularly met at the church to sing the praises of the Madonna. In 1591, it was moved to the larger Recolai family chapel before being transferred to the Uffizi Gallery at the start of the 19th century. So it is almost the same of the previous example. So the overall meaning of the Gothic art is not simply dark and mysterious, but as the time goes by, it is associated with the historical figures and religious practices influenced by the Roman Catholic Church. Next, please.
And this is the reference of all my work. And thank you po.